Hey beauties, well, please welcome with me Amy Landino. But who is Amy Landino, you may ask? Amy is a new media triple threat. She has a YouTube with over 6 million views and counting. She's a best-selling author of Vlog Like a Boss: How to Kill Online Video Blogging, the book. Yay! And she's the keynote speaker. How did I come to know her is by the Ask Gary Vee music video. You'll find the video description below or find it in the YouTube card somewhere here. Anyway, so welcome, Amy. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
It's so great to be here, Hadeel. It's been so long since we've been online friends, and now I'm so excited for us to finally chat in person.
Yay! Thank you. So my first question is, why a music video? How did you come up with that, or did someone do that before?
What's funny is I'm sure I've been inspired in the past by music videos. I think the parody in general,
Mm.
just the idea of taking an existing song and making funny words to it. Actually, my dog is probably my biggest inspiration. I can turn any song into a song about my dog. So I think that you just kind of like have these silly creative ticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the first musical book review I did for Gary was actually for Jab, 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 Right Hook.
Right.
And that just sort of happened on a total whim and an idea. And so it was sort of all of those creative ticks coming together with being very inspired by that book. That was the first time I had ever done something like that. The hardest part was the music. The video, I basically just like danced in my chair for like 4 minutes. But it was fun and it was different. And I think I was excited because I wanted him to know how much of an impact that he left on me with that body of work.
Right.
And it turned out that it was very well received when he saw the video, which he didn't know I was going to do. We had met prior, but he had no idea I was going to do it. I literally came up with and created it in less than 48 hours.
Wow.
Um, he just loved it and he shared it. And so that sort of started a cool relationship. And then by the time Ask Gary Vee came out, he was like, hey, do another one of those. So I kind of felt like I had to do another one. That one was fun too. I obviously the only person I've done this for until my book came out.
Yeah.
And then I got to do a music thing for my own book. And I did. And I was like, that's it. I'm retiring it. And
Yeah.
so once that happened, I was like really kind of stressed out because Gary's next book came out just this in the last month or so. It's called Crushing It. And I'm actually
Correct.
in that book. My story is being told. And I'm like, crap, do I need to do another one? Because that's sort of like the perfect storm.
Yeah.
It just like it really like work anymore with where I'm going, and it's really tough because I know, but like I think I saw that you did one and I was like, this
Yeah,
is so cool.
I did it because
I'm
of you, I swear.
thinking,
I did it because of you. You gave me this
oh,
energy.
see that's it's way better than because I feel like that then it's always continually like an inspirational move and
Yes,
not like I don't ever want to feel forced to make something like that. So
correct.
anyway, I'm very grateful to be obviously included in his book. I hope he's not mad at me that I didn't do another one, but like I can't do it.
So, if you went a little backward, when was the moment that helped you decide to quit your corporate job? Was it scary, or were you confident in what you were doing?
It was like a series of moments, I think.
Mm.
When I first found out, I've been using a computer and like the, I think about this, these moments sort of happen in just as you're doing normal things. And I'm like, man, I was doing that when I was 7 or whatever. Like I was using a computer at such a young age. And I remember always looking for ways to make money or ways to work from home. I've always been in search of that level of freedom. And it's funny because you forget that you do all these things and then I'm like, oh yeah. So I don't have like a story of how I sold baseball cards or like lemonade stand.
No,
Like
it's okay.
I'm not an entrepreneur per se, but I was
Uh,
always looking for freedom. So
okay.
I think there's that. But then there was also when I started using a lot of like social tools because I was creating videos online just for fun. And when you learn, you want to. So I learned a lot with that. I ended up talking to a friend of mine in 2009 who just asked me for some advice about Facebook. And well, not advice even. She was just like asking me how to do something.
Mm. So you were saying about Facebook.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was basically helping her with a Facebook like issue,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because I worked that out, she basically gave me an indication like this is something that businesses need.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I started looking into it and realized, oh my gosh, like I could actually do something I'm very passionate about
Mm-hmm.
and I want to. But that was kind of a hard realization because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna leave my cushy job. And that cut me up a lot. I
Yeah.
was like, I couldn't sleep over that. Even though I knew I needed to take the risk, I knew I needed it to be a calculated risk. I needed to make
Yeah.
sure first. And because this was very new to me that it could be a job. So I think you have to take that really, really, like you have to really love it. You have to
Yeah.
really love it because you're basically taking something that you love so much. And even on the worst days, you have to love it a lot to be able to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I was losing sleep over it in early 2010, I didn't end up leaving my job until late 2010, early
Uh,
2011.
uh-huh.
So it was like, oh, okay. I, it was like a year of me working on the side hustle in my free time. I didn't have a life, like, which quite frankly, I like to stay home anyway. So it's not like I was like, man, I miss drinking with my friends. Like that never is something I'm ever worried about. I really, really focused on the business as much as I could and I loved it. So
Okay.
by the time 2011 rolled around, I was ready. Like I was so ready. And it was the perfect thing to happen because there was like an occurrence at work. Essentially, politically, the other party had come into power in Ohio. And it was like, oh, well, like my party is basically going to be sad for the next 4 years. So, like, I could leave this job and they'll be like, we totally understand. And that's exactly what happened. So, everything happened at the right time. And so, it was definitely a risk, but it was a calculated risk for sure.
Yeah. So let's get a little technical.
Okay.
So yeah, what is content marketing? Because I can tell you a lot of people don't get what I'm doing. They believe a fashion designer should only sew and sell. Will you please enlighten us with the term?
Yes, absolutely. So, to me, content marketing is educating your potential customer. It can even really be entertaining. So, like, I was educating with the musical book review, but I was doing it in an entertaining way. The biggest thing about content marketing is that you give with so much of yourself and what you know and what
Mm-hmm.
you're excited about and what you want your customer to know because quite frankly they're going to be better off becoming your customer if they are smarter on some level about what you do and why it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that and not asking for any immediate return, you're
Yeah.
essentially content marketing. It doesn't mean you can't get return. Like, I think there's a little bit of a misconception, which is why people say to you, like, you should only be making clothes, selling clothes, like designing. You should
Yeah.
only be doing the tactics.
Yes.
But that means if you were to do that, you would only be focused on the product and not the people. The
Correct.
content marketing side of things is focusing on the people. So by doing that, it's very smart. You may actually need to educate someone on a completely different subject than fashion at all because maybe they don't even take it seriously in their life. And for them
Right.
to fully appreciate a piece or appreciate something that they might purchase in the future, they might need some other kind of education first. Maybe there's a misconception about affordability or there's a misconception about how you can budget for things like that in your life. Those are
Yeah.
completely different
Yeah.
topics. That could be categorized as finance. So
Correct.
that's what content marketing is you're basically filling your funnel of potential customers with people who know, like, and trust you because you have delivered something totally for free to them that they can grow from and it be aligned with getting them closer to the buyer journey. And so
Awesome.
that's really that's a long definition for
Yeah.
content marketing, but that's how I would consider it.
Okay, awesome. So the next question would be, what happens when people don't so excuse me. What
That's
happens
okay.
when the people who's trying to target don't get what you're doing in terms of vlogging? especially in Kuwait, where people constantly tell me YouTube doesn't work in Kuwait. Yet you see famous people doing it, like see famous Kuwaiti bloggers do it. But regular people like you and me, like, no, it's not working. Don't do it. Just fashion design and just sell. Don't
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
YouTube.
So, well, my question then is, who are the people that are most likely to say that to you?
Mm-hmm. You
You
don't
know what
want
I
to know?
mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I do want to know, but here's where my head is, and I'll start to answer the question first, and maybe
Okay.
we can dig into this.
Okay.
Um, I maybe said this before, I can't remember, that there was a time where like I had to learn that this was even a job from the
Hmm.
West Coast because we're a little bit behind. And
Correct.
I think that happens all over the world. There are certain areas of the world that pick up on something really quickly, and then it will get somewhere else really quick. WhatsApp is a great example of this. Like the entire globe, it seems, is using the WhatsApp app.
Hmm.
And the US is super behind. There was not a single session on it at a social media conference that I was speaking at where people who are targeting more international people thought that was weird, right? So there's always areas of the world that might be a little bit more behind. The interesting thing is that if the people who are vlogging famous in Kuwait
Correct.
are are okay to do it. Like they've been put in the bucket. They're like, you're good, but her, she can't do that. I feel the reason is just like anyone else that's going through this. And that is, in my opinion, people don't get on your train until it is just chugging along and successfully chugging along.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, we have to put in all the work for that train to go
Hmm.
and to get to a point of successful speed that somebody would even want to get on. So that's what's really tough is there was absolutely a lot of times in my life, so much so that I was committed in a committed relationship with somebody, not my husband, but previously, who did not get it, just did
Hmm.
not get it. But the cool thing for me was I didn't feel I needed to be a different person. I just felt I didn't need to completely explain it to him because, for one thing, you really need to weigh your options when someone's like, what you're doing is really stupid. It's like, okay, well, like, I don't feel that way. And so you're kind of hurting my feelings. I don't know if this relationship's going to work out. But also, he's not my target. He's not my
Yeah.
person. He's not my Charlotte. So
Correct.
he doesn't have to understand. So that's a part of it. So for the people like mom or the husband or the boyfriend or whatever it is that cannot get it, or your friends who are like, really, girl, like what? Why are you doing this? This is weird. I don't get it. Even my best friends who support me wholeheartedly and think what I'm doing is amazing, they may not be my demo. So
Yeah.
they might just be like kind of like complimenting me. My mom was kind of like, what is going on? Like you wouldn't pose for a single picture as a kid. And now all of a sudden you're making videos on the internet. So she couldn't understand that either. But then, you know, and I love my mom. She was supportive of me before the book, but the book was something she could understand, right? She's a
Yeah.
teacher. I wrote a
Yes.
book. So suddenly when something happens in a way that someone understands, they're on board. And now it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these people supportive of me. Like, where were you 7 years ago when maybe I could have used a little bit of help? So that's the hard part about what we do.
Hmm.
But I would argue that everyone goes through that in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. And it's the tough thing that we have to sacrifice to get what we want.
Awesome. So in your book,
It
yay,
is.
you mentioned three fears when it comes to vlogging: personality, gear, and ROI. Could you briefly explain the three terms, and did you have any of them when you started out?
Absolutely. I had all of them. I had
Oh.
all of them. ROI in a different way because I had all it's interesting because what I considered ROI early on is not what I would consider ROI today. Starting with the fear of gear. The
Mm.
fear of gear is essentially I'm going to start vlogging, but unfortunately I don't have the right equipment.
Mhm.
And so I can't. So I'm going to wait until I can buy the fanciest of gear and then I will start. And to that, I say that's so silly. For one thing, we're sitting here right now on two computers and we are vlogging. We are presenting value in the form of a video blog. And to
Correct.
me, that is vlogging. And I talk about that more in the book. I don't think you should ever feel paralyzed by gear. It's 2018. Unless you do not have a computer, a tablet, or a smartphone, you know, you really shouldn't feel that strapped by gear. Some of the most sophisticated cameras are in these devices that a lot of us do carry. And it's fascinating because it's sophisticated not only in what it can do, but it's sophisticated because you don't have to know how to work a fancy camera in order to use it. And so
Correct.
that's a big one. Um, the fear of personality, meaning that you have to be someone else, you have to be like someone else, you have to sound like someone else, you have to emulate someone else in order to be successful at this. And to that, I say absolutely not. I mean, the right personality is the one that can look at the camera like it's a person, that one person that they mean to talk to, not the people around them they think are judging them, and really be able to focus and deliver for that person. And the personality will come through in turn. I was never the personality growing up. My sister was the cheerleader, the personality, like loud girl, and she would be pegged for video, just pegged. And she actually is now a business owner as well, and has been nervously starting to vlog in the last year because it's a changing years.
Yeah.
So she's more of a people person where I'm not. And the other thing I want to mention is a lot of
Yeah.
people forget the origin of YouTube. And the origin of YouTube was people who didn't have friends sitting in a room alone talking to their computer to find people out there that they could relate to.
Yeah.
And to that I say, they weren't thinking about personality. They were just thinking about reaching people.
Yeah.
And so that's when I like to try to squash. It's very difficult though, because if you don't have practice, if you don't try really hard, it can be hard to get past like, oh, I'm talking to a camera. This is so weird. So there's a lot of work there. The fear of ROI, I had in the beginning, but it wasn't. I never thought it was going to be like paid. I think I realized that there were YouTubers who were a part of the partner program in 2008, and they were specially picked to make money on YouTube, but it
Yeah.
never really like bothered me. I was just like, I just wanted a medium. I wanted a creative space. So
Yeah.
for me, the return on investment was to just get some fulfillment out of my spare time other than watching TV and other mindless crap. I felt like I didn't have like a real purpose. So there was that, but then when video turned into a marketing stage for my businesses, there's other ROI that goes into that. And no, I'm not making $1 every single time someone watches a video, or
Mhm.
I guess maybe I am because of AdSense. It just sort of depends.
Mhm.
But I am talking to people. It takes a long time to get to that AdSense stage. That's why I say that. Like it's still weird to me that that even happens.
Yeah.
What I am doing is I'm using this as an opportunity to reach Hadeel, to reach people, to reach Charlotte, the person I have like designed as my core viewer,
Yeah.
and say, I want to make the difference in your life so that they will potentially buy a pass to sit in the audience where I speak. And that helps me as a speaker. Or they'll buy my book, or they'll buy my class,
Yeah.
or they'll whatever. They support me because having that loyal community behind what I'm doing fuels my purpose, and then it fuels them because that's my purpose. So there's a lot of opportunity for return now, and you just have to know how to measure it. A lot of people who put return as a big issue on the video side is because they're just not measuring it. They don't understand
Yeah.
how important it is to, even when you're starting from zero, measure where you're going so you can continue to follow the things that work and not follow the things that obviously don't.
Awesome. So do you have time for one more question? Or
Absolutely.
okay, awesome. So you and I kind of had the same audience, except for mine that is in the Gulf region, and want me to show her
Hmm.
how to achieve her dreams. You call her social, and I call her beauty, addressing her
Hmm.
insecurity of not being pretty enough to be able to achieve it. My question for you is this: why or how do you think video is the way or the tool that helps someone like our audience achieve their dream?
Because it's like they're sitting down and talking to us. And even though you might be targeting people in a specific region, you can help the entire world if you really want to. It's very good to stay focused on who you are focused on, so that experience is always 100% for them.
Yeah,
But even just audio is really fascinating because it's something people feel they can consume passively. So if you were
correct.
just listening to this conversation like a podcast, it's a very effective delivery. But there's something about someone not only listening to you but really looking at you and feeling the emotion from you in a video that can feel like you are actually there with them in person. And when it comes to selling or business
Mm-hmm.
or even just selling yourself, if you're a personal brand trying to get your dream job or have some other career take off, having that experience with someone and being able to scale it is huge. So I think Medium is absolutely the way because I know I can lock eyes with you even if I don't know your name technically,
Correct.
and I can leave an impact on you. And I know that's true because then I meet people in person or I meet people on calls like this and they feel like they already know me. Like
Correct.
Hadeel, do you feel like you already know me?
Yeah,
We
I
just
know
met 5 minutes,
Lucy, I know your husband, your
yeah,
mom.
you know everything
Yeah.
about me. And it's, you know what, can I say this? Somebody came up to me at the conference I was just speaking at and said, um, she asked me a question and I was like, oh, did I talk about that? And she was like, yeah, you mentioned it on the videos. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I just said something I answered her question.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Do you think it's weird that all these people know, you're doing all the time or know
Yeah.
all this stuff about you?" And I was like, "No, actually. It's funny because I will have the exact same conversation tonight when I go see my best friend that I had with her, where my best friend will ask me, "Hey, how was that conference in San Diego?" And I'll be like, "Oh, did I tell you I was going to San Diego? I can't remember." And she'll be like, "Yeah, you told me, and I saw it on all the internet things." And I was like, "Oh." I'll be like, "Oh, yeah," and I'll answer my question. My interaction with my audience when they ask me about something they saw in a video is very similar to my conversations with my best friends
Mhm.
because I just can't remember what I said. And I'm just like, "Did I say that? Oh, okay, cool." And then I'll just carry on because it's cool. It's really cool that they're committed to knowing me. And I've obviously left such an impact that they would even want to. And that goes back to your original question,
Yeah.
the importance of content marketing. If I would not have delivered value in a very short amount of time in a way that moves the needle for my community, they wouldn't care what my name is. They wouldn't care who my dog is. They wouldn't care what I did for dinner. They wouldn't care about those things. That's the flavor that helps this other stuff that we're creating to rank in search and all that kind of thing.
Mm,
So, yeah, yeah, that's why
awesome.
videos.
Awesome. So anything you want to promote?
Um, I would just say come check me out on YouTube. I'm
Yeah,
always
I'll
always
link.
trying to, yeah,
I'll
I'm
link it
always
in the
I
description.
have a book, I have a class, I have all these
The
things.
book is a
But to
must
me,
read, you guys. The book
thank
is a must
you.
read.
Yeah, I appreciate that. To me, I just think it's great that you can go to youtube.com/AmyTV and get to know me on your time
Yeah.
first, and then you decide if I'm worth additional value. Because I have a lot of things to share, I have a lot of things to say, and so I invite you to do that. And then if the book or anything like that is in your future, then I welcome that also.
Awesome. So thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to both of our channels for more cool content. Until then, what is your key takeaway from this conversation? Leave a comment below and let us know. Until then, bye bye.